In the summer of 2025, a border dispute that had been simmering for over a century between Thailand and Cambodia just exploded. What started as an argument over a line on a map spiraled fast into open fighting, political chaos, and a military crisis that had the entire region holding its breath. We're going to walk through exactly how this happened.
So what does it actually take? What pushes two countries that share a border, history, and culture to the very edge of all-out war? That's the real question here. We're going to dive into the timeline, unpack the history behind it all, and look at the very real costs to really get a handle on how this thing boiled over.
I mean, listen to this. As things were unfolding, security expert Painaton Watanabe said, flat out, that the Thai-Cambodian war has begun. That's not something you say lightly. It tells you just how serious things had gotten on the ground. This was way beyond just a minor skirmish.
And the escalation was breathtakingly fast. On the morning of July 24th, Cambodian forces opened fire. By that very same afternoon, Thailand was responding with air patrols and ground assaults. Then, Cambodian rockets slammed into civilian areas in Thailand. In just a couple of days, the fighting had driven a huge number of people from their homes, before Malaysia and the U.S. managed to broker a ceasefire that finally took effect.
Let's just sit with this number for a second. Over 250,000 people. These aren't soldiers, they're civilians, families on both sides of that border, forced to grab what they could and run. It's a powerful, sobering reminder of the real human cost of a conflict like this, which goes far, far beyond the battlefield.
So how on earth did we get here? Well, the fighting in July didn't just come out of nowhere. It was the peak of a whole series of events, months of rising tensions and specific provocations that set the stage for the explosion.
And if you look at the timeline, you can see this clear, escalating pattern. It kicks off in February with a symbolic act. A friendship pavilion gets torched. Then in May, we have the first deadly clash. But things really went off the rails in June, when a secret recording of a phone call got leaked. In it, the Thai Prime Minister called her own military an opponent. That leak didn't just cause a political firestorm in Thailand. It directly led to the complete shutdown of the border.
Now, let's talk about this thing. This is a PMN-2 landmine, grimly nicknamed the Black Widow. It's a nasty Russian-made anti-personnel mine. And here's the crucial part. It's banned. The 1997 Ottawa Treaty, which both Thailand and Cambodia signed, prohibits its use. So seeing this on the field wasn't just a military escalation, it was a serious international issue.
And this incident, well, this was the final spark. On July 16th, 3 Thai soldiers were badly wounded by one of these mines. The key detail here is that this wasn't some old mine left over from a past war. It was newly placed in an area that was supposed to be safe. For the Thai government, this was a blatant act of aggression and a clear violation of international law.
To really get what's going on, you have to rewind, way back. The fighting in 2025 isn't just about a leaked phone call or a landmine. Its roots go back 100 years to a fundamental disagreement about the border itself. And it all comes down to 2 very different maps.
Okay, quick explainer on map scales, because this is super important. Think of it like video resolution. A map with a 1 to 50,000 scale is like 4K. It's super detailed and precise. But a map with a 1 to 200,000 scale, that's more like standard definition. 1 centimeter on that map equals 2 kilometers on the ground. That massive difference in precision is really the heart of this whole problem.
So this is where it all gets messy. Thailand uses a modern, super precise 1 to 50,000 scale map made by the US with satellites. It's what they use for all their official business. Cambodia, on the other hand, sticks to a much older, much less precise 1 to 100,000 scale map from the French colonial era. Because the scales are so different, the border lines they draw simply don't match up, creating these disputed territories that both sides claim.
And here's the absolute crux of Thailand's legal argument. They say that the old French map Cambodia uses was never formally ratified. It was never signed and agreed upon by both nations as the one official legally binding map. So from Thailand's perspective, it can't be used to settle the border. This disagreement, which map is the real map, is the historical tinder for this very modern fire.
You know, a conflict like this isn't just fought on the battlefield.
When that border slammed shut, it triggered a massive economic shockwave. And it hurt everyone, from huge corporations all the way down to the person selling food on the street.
Try to wrap your head around this number. The border shutdown was estimated to be costing the economy 500 million baht. That's around 14 million US dollars every single day. It's just a brutal reminder that the economic weapons in a conflict can be just as devastating as the real ones.
If you look at the trade numbers from just before the crisis, you can see how deeply connected these two economies are. Thailand sends a ton of stuff over the border, over 108 billion baht worth of goods, like drinks and motorcycles, and it gets important things back, like produce and clothes. This trade is the absolute lifeblood for countless businesses.
But as you can see, it's a pretty lopsided relationship. Thailand exports way more to Cambodia than it imports. And while that's great for the Thai economy in peacetime, it also means that when that border trade suddenly grinds to a halt, Thai businesses are the ones who feel the most pain.
And that pain just ripples outwards. Suddenly, logistics costs jump because trucks have to find new routes. Thai-owned factories in Cambodia shut down because they can't get materials. Big companies on the stock market, like the energy drink giant Carabao, start issuing profit warnings. But the people who felt it first and hardest were the small business owners in those border towns, the shopkeepers, the restaurant owners, the drivers, whose entire livelihoods just vanished overnight. Okay, so the fighting stops, thanks to a fragile ceasefire. Now what? How do you actually build a lasting peace? Well, the efforts are happening on two totally different levels: big, top-down diplomatic deals and small, bottom-up community initiatives.
The official route was pretty much by the book. First, stop shooting, immediately and unconditionally. Step 2, get the local military commanders in a room together to just cool things down. And Step 3, schedule a big, formal meeting of the General Border Committee to hash out the bigger problems. That's the standard state-to-state way of doing things.
But then there's this other school of thought, this alternative path. It says that real, lasting peace isn't made in capital cities. It's built from the ground up. It's about training local leaders how to solve disputes, strengthening those family and community ties that already cross the border, and creating joint economic projects so that both sides have a real stake in keeping the peace. It's about solving shared problems together.
Which really brings us to the final critical question. Can a handshake between diplomats in a fancy room truly fix a conflict that's so tangled up in local arguments, competing histories, and the day-to-day lives of the people who actually live there? The ceasefire might be holding for now, but the search for a real, genuine peace, that has only just begun.